I thought the walk was over when I said no, but apparently, that was just the beginning. I met her on a dating site. Nothing fancy, nothing serious, just two strangers talking. What happened after that short walk turned into weeks of fear, confusion, and a lesson I didn't know I'd need. And there's one moment during that walk I keep replaying in my head, because that's when everything quietly went wrong. I didn't join the dating site looking for love. I joined it the same way people open the fridge at midnight. Not because they're starving, but because they're bored and hoping something good appears. I'd been single for a while. Not heartbroken, just tired. Tired of routines. Tired of silence. Tired of talking to the same 3 people every day like we were stuck in a group chat from hell. So I made a profile. Bad photos, honest bio. Nothing clever. No fake confidence. Just me saying I liked walking, podcasts, late-night food, and not taking life too seriously. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. That alone probably should have been my first red flag. That's when she messaged me. Her name was Lena. At least that's what her profile said. Her pictures looked normal. Not model level, not blurry with a filter level either. Just real. Her messages were fast. Like really fast. I'd reply, put my phone down, and before it even locked, another message popped up. At first I liked that. It felt nice to be wanted, you know. To not wait 3 hours for a LOL. She laughed at my dumb jokes, asked questions, a lot of questions. What time I wake up, where I usually walk, if I live alone. I told myself she was just curious. People are curious online. That's normal. We talked for about a week, every day, morning to night. If I disappeared for an hour, she'd ask if everything was okay. I joked once, "Relax, I'm not going anywhere." She replied, "Good." Just that. One word. I should have felt something then, but I didn't. I brushed it off. She suggested we meet. Not dinner, not coffee, a walk. Low pressure, she said. Public. Easy. That sounded perfect to me. I picked a park near my place. Busy enough, safe, familiar. The day came. I arrived a few minutes early, hands in my pockets, doing that thing where you pretend to check your phone but you're really just watching people walk by. I saw her before she saw me. She was standing near the entrance, looking around, scanning faces like she was searching for someone who owed her money. When she spotted me, her face lit up in a way that felt intense. Not happy, not nervous, more like relief. She hugged me immediately. No, is this okay? No pause, just straight in. Her grip was tight. I laughed it off. People hug, that's fine. We started walking. At first it was normal. Weather talk, jokes about bad dating stories. She told me about her job, then asked about mine. Then asked again. Same question, different wording. Where exactly do I work? How long have I been there? Do I like my coworkers? I answered. But something felt off. It wasn't curiosity anymore. It felt like inventory. As we walked deeper into the park, she walked closer. Our arms brushed, then stayed touching. I subtly moved away. She moved closer again. I stopped and pretended to tie my shoe just to reset the space. She laughed and said, "You're cute when you're nervous." "I'm not nervous," I said. "Just hot." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. About 20 minutes in, I knew. That quiet voice in your head that whispers before it screams. I wasn't into her. Not her looks. Not her energy. Something didn't click. And that's okay. That's dating. So I decided to be honest. I slowed down and said, as gently as I could, "Hey, I don't want to make this awkward, but I don't really feel a connection. I think we're better off just calling it here." I expected disappointment, maybe a polite nod, an okay, thanks for being honest. What I got was silence. She stopped walking. I turned around. She was staring at me, not angry, not sad, just blank. Then she laughed. No, she said. I thought she was joking. I even smiled a little. No? No, she repeated. We just started walking. I know, I said, still calm, but I don't want to lead you on. She stepped closer, way too close. You don't know what you want yet, she said. People always say that. I took a step back. I'm pretty sure. She shook her head. You're just scared. That's when my stomach dropped. I said more firmly, I'm done. I'm going home. I turned to leave. She followed. At first, I thought she was just walking the same direction. The park exits funnel people the same way. But then I stopped again. So did she. I stepped left. She mirrored me. Please stop, I said. She smiled. Why are you acting like this? I said no. She tilted her head. You don't mean it. That sentence still messes with me. I walked faster. She matched my pace, still smiling, still talking like nothing was wrong, telling me about a place we could get food, about a movie I'd like, about how she could come over sometime because she already knew where I lived. I froze. What do you mean you know where I live? She shrugged. You told me the area. It's not hard. That was it. I stopped, turned, and said, loud enough for people nearby to hear, do not follow me. Her smile dropped for half a second. Just a crack. Then it came back. Okay, she said softly. I'll see you later. I didn't respond. I left. I didn't look back. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. That night, my phone buzzed. One message. Home safe? I didn't reply. Another buzz. Why are you ignoring me? Then another. That wasn't nice. I blocked her. 10 minutes later, a notification from another number. Blocking me won't help. My chest felt tight. I told myself it was coincidence, that she'd calm down, that people get weird when rejected. Then she sent a photo. It was my street. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside felt louder. Every car door made my heart race. I checked the locks 3 times, then 4. The next morning, there was another message. New number again. We need to talk. I went to work like nothing was wrong, smiled at people, answered emails, but my hands were shaking. I kept checking the door, kept thinking I saw her reflection in the glass. At lunch, I stepped outside to get air. She was across the street, not waving, not hiding, just standing there, looking at her phone. Then she looked up and smiled. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't awkward dating anymore. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was something else, something darker. And I had no idea how far she was willing to go. I thought saying no was enough. I thought being honest would keep things simple. But sometimes, no doesn't end the story. Sometimes it starts it. And what happened after that changed how I see people forever. I didn't move when I saw her across the street. My brain did that thing where it tries to pretend reality is buffering. Like if I don't blink, maybe she'll disappear. She didn't. She just stood there, calm as ever, like this was the most normal place for her to be at lunchtime on a Tuesday. I went back inside without buying anything, told myself I was overreacting. Maybe she worked nearby. Maybe it was coincidence. Cities are small. People cross paths. But coincidences don't smile at you like that. The rest of the day crawled. Every notification made my heart jump. I didn't block the new number because, honestly, I was scared of what she'd do if I did. That thought alone made me feel stupid and weak, but fear doesn't care about pride. That evening, a message came through. I saw you today. You looked stressed. I stared at my phone for a long time before replying. I shouldn't have replied. I know that now. But when you're scared, you start bargaining. Please stop contacting me, I wrote. This is not okay. 3 dots appeared instantly. I told you, she replied. You don't mean it. I blocked the number. 5 minutes later, another message. New number again. You can't erase me. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. I didn't tell him everything, just said I needed a couch. I laughed, acted normal. Inside, my thoughts were sprinting in circles. The next morning, she emailed me. I never gave her my email. The subject line was, "Why are you doing this to us?" I didn't open it. I deleted it. Then I changed my passwords. All of them. Banking, social media, everything. I locked down my profiles, made them private, removed my workplace, my photos, anything that showed location. For a few hours, nothing happened. I started to relax. That was my second mistake. Around 7 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail popped up seconds later. Her voice was calm, too calm. I don't like being ignored. It makes me feel like you don't care about my feelings. I felt sick. The messages escalated fast after that. Not angry, not threatening. Worse, emotional. Long paragraphs about how we were meant to meet, how she felt safe with me, how people always leave her, and how cruel that is. Then came the guilt. You know I'm sensitive. You promised you weren't going anywhere. You're hurting me. I went to the police the next day. I didn't know what else to do. I felt ridiculous sitting there, trying to explain that a girl I went on one walk with was showing up near my job and messaging me from burner numbers. The officer listened, nodded, then said the sentence I was dreading. She hasn't threatened you. There's not much we can do yet. Yet. They told me to document everything. Screenshots, dates, times, save voicemails. They suggested I tell her clearly, once, to stop contacting me, then cut all communication. So I did exactly that. I sent one message, one sentence. Do not contact me again. If you do, I will involve the police. I blocked everything immediately after. That night, my doorbell rang at 11:43 p.m. I didn't answer. It rang again. Then knocking. Soft at first, then harder. My entire body went cold. I stood in my hallway, lights off, barely breathing. My phone buzzed in my hand. Unknown number. I know you're home. The knocking stopped. I thought maybe she left. Then my phone buzzed again. Why won't you just talk to me? I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall until the sun came up. The next few days blurred together. I worked from home. I avoided windows. I jumped at footsteps in the hallway. Every sound felt like a warning. She didn't show up again right away. Instead, she got creative. She started messaging people I knew. My friend texted me, confused. Hey, some girl named Lena says she knows you. Is everything okay? My sister called. Same question. That's when panic turned into something else. Anger. This wasn't just fear anymore. This was my life being invaded. I went back to the police with more evidence, screenshots, voicemails, witnesses. This time, they took it more seriously. They said it fit a pattern. They used the word stalking. Hearing it out loud made my stomach twist. They tried to contact her, left a warning, told her to stop. For 3 days, everything went quiet. No messages, no calls, no sightings. I started breathing again. On the fourth day, there was a package outside my door. No return address. Inside was a hoodie. Mine, the one I wore on the walk. And a note. "You forgot this." That's when I realized something important. She wasn't trying to scare me. She was trying to stay close. And that was somehow even worse. I didn't touch the hoodie at first. I just stared at it like it might move on its own. It smelled like my detergent. Like my apartment. Like me. That was the part that really messed with my head. She didn't just have access to my space. She felt comfortable there. I put the hoodie back in the box, sealed it, and shoved it into the back of a closet like that could erase the feeling crawling up my spine. I called the police again. They took the hoodie as evidence this time. Fingerprints. DNA. All the things you see on TV that somehow feel less powerful when you're the one living it. They told me to stay with someone else if I could. Change routines. Avoid predictable patterns. So I did. I slept on couches. I rotated routes. I left my place at random times. I felt like prey pretending not to be hunted. For a week, nothing happened. No messages, no calls, no sightings. That silence was louder than anything she'd sent before. I started doubting myself. Maybe she finally got it. Maybe the police warning worked. Maybe this was over. Then my phone buzzed with a notification from a food delivery app. "Your order has arrived." I hadn't ordered anything. I opened the door carefully. There was a coffee sitting on the mat. My usual order. Same milk, same sugar. Receipt stapled to the side. Paid for. Name, Lena. I didn't even pick it up. I kicked it away like it might explode. I sat down on the floor and laughed, then immediately felt like crying because nothing about this was funny. She knew my habits, my taste, my patterns. She was paying attention in a way that felt obsessive and intimate at the same time. That night, she emailed again. I just wanted to do something nice. I didn't respond. The next message came an hour later. "Why are you punishing me?" Then another. "You're being cruel." I handed my phone to my friend and asked him to read everything from the beginning. I needed someone else to see it so I knew I wasn't losing my mind. He finished reading, looked at me and said, "This isn't a misunderstanding. This is fixation." That word stuck. Fixation. It explained the way she talked about us when there was no us. The way she ignored boundaries like they were optional. The way no didn't register as an answer, just a phase. 2 days later, my landlord called. He said someone had emailed him asking about my lease, asked if I was planning to move, asked how long I'd lived there. She was fishing. That's when fear turned into urgency. The police helped me file for a restraining order. It took time. Paperwork, statements, waiting. Every delay felt dangerous. During that waiting period, she escalated again. She started posting about me online. Not my name, just details. A guy who works where I work, who walks where I walk, who broke her heart after leading her on. People commented, took sides, messaged me, asking if I was the guy. I stopped checking. One night, around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps outside my door. Slow, deliberate, back and forth. I didn't move. My phone buzzed. "I miss you." I called the police immediately. By the time they arrived, the hallway was empty. No one answered the door across the hall. No cameras caught her face. But she wanted me to know she'd been there. The restraining order was approved a week later. They served it to her. She stopped contacting me. For exactly 12 days. On the 13th day, I found a note on my car. "I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore, so I'll just wait." That sentence still makes my blood run cold. Because waiting means patience. and patience means time. And time was the one thing she seemed to have endless amounts of. After the note on my car, I stopped pretending I could ride this out. I'd been reacting this whole time, hoping things would cool down on their own. That note made one thing clear. She wasn't done, and she wasn't angry anymore. She was settled, comfortable, like this situation had become part of her routine. That's when I decided to leave. Not move forever. Just disappear long enough to break the pattern. I packed a bag and went to stay with a friend in another city. I didn't post, didn't tell anyone outside a small circle. I asked my job to let me work remotely and told them the truth. Enough of it, at least. To my surprise, they didn't question it. They just said, "Take care of yourself." For the first few days, nothing happened. I slept. Really slept. No hallway noises, no doorbell, no buzzing phone. I started to feel like myself again. I went on walks without constantly checking reflections. I laughed and meant it. Then, on day 6, my friend's doorbell camera sent a notification. Motion detected. It wasn't her. It was a letter taped to the door. No name, no address. Inside was a single page, neatly folded. "You can run, but you're still mine." That was the first time she sounded angry. I called the police again. Different city, same story. They took the letter, added it to the file, told me to stay alert, told me to call if I saw her. I asked them a question that scared me as soon as it left my mouth. What happens if she doesn't stop? They didn't answer right away. That silence said enough. A few days later, the restraining order was officially violated. Multiple times. Messages routed through fake accounts. Packages sent without names. Notes left where I stayed. Enough for action. She was arrested one morning. Not dramatically. No chase. Just picked up at her apartment and taken in for questioning. I felt relief for about 10 minutes. Then guilt. Then fear all over again. Because being arrested didn't mean she understood. It just meant she'd been interrupted. She was released with conditions. Mandatory evaluation. No contact. No approaching within a certain distance. On paper, it looked good. In reality, I knew better by now. I moved again. New apartment, new routine, new locks. I didn't tell anyone the address unless I had to. I stopped using my real name on delivery apps. I became smaller, quieter. Months passed. No messages, no notes, no sightings. I almost believed I was free. Then, one afternoon, I got a message request from an account with no picture. "I hope you're safe." My hands went numb. I didn't reply. Seconds later. "I am." That was the last message she ever sent me. I never saw her again. Never heard her voice. Never found another note. But she didn't disappear from my life completely. She stayed in my head. I still check locks twice. I still scan crowds. I still feel a spike of fear when my phone buzzes from an unknown number. I don't do dating apps anymore. Not because I'm bitter, because I'm cautious in a way I never had to be before. I used to think stalking was loud, obvious, angry messages and threats. Now I know it can be quiet, polite, smiling, and it can start with something as harmless as a walk. For a long time, I didn't tell this story to anyone outside a few close people. Not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't have the words. Every time I tried to explain it, I felt like I had to defend myself first. Like I needed to prove I hadn't led her on. That I'd been clear. That I'd said no. That alone says a lot about how we treat situations like this. People expect stalking to come from anger or rejection that turns violent overnight. They picture threats, insults, screaming voicemails. What I lived through was quieter, slower, wrapped in concern and affection and smiles that never reached the eyes. The scariest part wasn't the messages or the notes. It was how reasonable she sounded. How easy it would have been to explain her behavior away if I hadn't trusted that small voice in my gut. Looking back, the signs were there early. The speed, the intensity, the way curiosity turned into control, the way no became something to argue with instead of respect. At the time, I didn't know those were warning signs. I thought they were just quirks, just someone who cared a little too much. I've learned since then that boundaries don't need to be justified. You don't owe anyone comfort at the cost of your own safety. You don't need a dramatic reason to walk away. If something feels wrong, that feeling matters. I also learned how important documentation is. Screenshots felt silly at first, like I was being dramatic. They weren't silly. They were the only reason anyone took me seriously later. If you're ever in a situation like this, save everything. Dates, times, messages, even the things that seem harmless on their own. And talk to someone. Early. Don't wait until you're exhausted or scared or doubting yourself. Fear gets louder when you carry it alone. I still think about that walk sometimes. How ordinary it felt. How easily it could have been just another forgettable date. One decision, to say no out loud, split my life into before and after. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because someone watching this might be brushing off behavior that feels a little weird. Someone might be telling themselves they're overreacting. I did that too. You're not wrong for wanting space. You're not cruel for setting limits. And you're not weak for being affected by something that wasn't your fault. Some people don't hear no as an answer. They hear it as a challenge. If this story made you think of someone you know, or yourself, trust that instinct.